My name is Emma Sullivan and I'm 31 years old. The morning after Thanksgiving, I walked into my living room with a cup of coffee and nearly dropped it. Every framed family photo was gone, not moved, not packed away. Gone, the wedding portrait of my husband and me, the ultrasound photo from my first pregnancy. Pictures of our daughter Lily's first birthday, even the photo of my late mother holding Lily just weeks before she passed away. Every frame had been emptied, and the broken glass lay in a trash bag beside the kitchen door. My mother-in-law, Judith Harper, was calmly wiping down the shelves as if she'd done nothing unusual. When I asked where my pictures were, she smiled and said, "The house looks cleaner without all those reminders of your side of the family." My husband, Ethan, was away on a 3-day business trip, and Judith had insisted on staying with us to help while he was gone. I stood there frozen, staring at the empty walls where years of memories had once hung. My voice shook as I asked why she would do something so cruel. She shrugged without an ounce of guilt. "You're part of the Harper family now. Your old family isn't important anymore." Those words hit harder than I expected. My mother had passed away from cancer just 18 months earlier, and those photographs were some of the last tangible pieces of her I had left. Judith knew that. She had attended the funeral. She had watched me cry while holding those very pictures. Yet now she acted as if destroying them was no different than replacing old decorations. I spent the next 2 hours digging through the garbage outside, praying some of the photos had survived. Most hadn't. Rainwater had soaked the torn prints beyond repair. I sat on the driveway with ruined photographs in my lap, wondering how I would ever explain this to Ethan. It's when my elderly neighbour, Mrs. Elena Brooks, quietly walked over carrying an old leather photo album. She looked at me with sad eyes and said one sentence that made my heart stop. "Before your mother-in-law threw everything away, I saw her hiding one album in the attic instead of destroying it." I couldn't believe what Mrs. Elena Brooks had just told me. "Sure," I asked. She nodded. I saw Judith carry one album upstairs before she filled the trash bags. She looked around first. Like she didn't want anyone watching. My heart started racing. If one album had been hidden instead of destroyed. Why, Judith had already gone upstairs to take a nap. Quietly, I climbed the attic stairs. The attic was dusty and packed with old Christmas decorations, storage boxes, and furniture covered with white sheets. For nearly 20 minutes I searched every corner, nothing. Just as I was about to give up, I noticed a small cedar chest tucked behind an old rocking chair. It was locked. The tiny brass lock looked familiar. Then I remembered. Months earlier, Ethan had given me a ring of spare keys for every lock in the house. The third key clicked perfectly. Inside the chest wasn't just one photo album, there were 3, and beneath them, a sealed envelope with my name written across the front. Emma, my hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a short handwritten note. "If you're reading this, Judith finally did what I always feared she would." Handwriting wasn't Ethan's. Belonged to his late father, Robert Harper. I had only known him for a year before he passed away, but I'd never forgotten his handwriting on birthday cards. The letter continued. "Judith has spent years rewriting our family's history. Whenever someone didn't fit the picture she wanted, they slowly disappeared from it." A chill ran down my spine. I quickly opened the first album. Every page was filled with old family photographs. Then I noticed something strange in the framed pictures hanging downstairs. Robert always appeared alone with Ethan, but inside this hidden album, another woman stood beside Robert, smiling, holding baby Ethan. I stared at the photograph. I'd never seen her before. The caption underneath simply read, "Emily, Robert and Ethan, summer 1996. Who was Emily? I turned another page. There she was again. Christmas morning, family vacations, birthday parties. She appeared in dozens of photographs. Then, she suddenly vanished. Every later picture showed only Robert, Judith and Ethan, as if Emily had never existed. Confused, I opened Robert's letter again. The next paragraph made my stomach drop. Emily wasn't a friend, was Ethan's biological mother. After she died, Judith entered our lives, and over the years she quietly removed every photograph that proved Emily had ever been part of this family. I could barely breathe. Judith hadn't started erasing people with me. She'd been doing it for decades. Then I noticed one final sentence at the bottom of the page. "If Judith ever destroys your family photos too, show Ethan these albums." Deserves to know the truth of being too afraid to tell. Ethan returned home the following evening. The moment he walked through the front door, he noticed the empty walls. "Emma, where are all our pictures?" I didn't answer. Instead, I quietly placed the 3 hidden photo albums and Robert Harper's letter on the dining table. "Think you should look at these before I explain anything." At first he looked confused, then he opened the first album. His smile disappeared. He turned another page, then another. Finally, he stopped on a photograph of himself as a toddler sitting in a woman's lap. He frowned. "Is this?" I gently pushed Robert's letter toward him. He read it slowly. Halfway through, his hands began to shake. My mom told me my biological mother left us when I was a baby, he whispered. I nodded. According to your father's letter, she didn't leave. Died. Room fell silent. Ethan quickly flipped through the albums again. Every page showed moments he'd never known existed. Christmas mornings, beach vacations, birthday parties, his biological mother smiling beside him. Then, nothing. She simply disappeared from every later photograph as if she'd never existed. Tears filled his eyes. My entire childhood was rewritten. Just then, Judith walked into the dining room. The moment she saw the albums, the color drained from her face. Where did you find those? She demanded. Ethan slowly stood up. You told me my mother abandoned me. Judith didn't answer. You let me believe that for 30 years. Still. Silence. Then Ethan held up Robert's letter. Dad knew everything. Judith finally broke. I was trying to protect you. Protect me. Ethan's voice cracked. You erased my own mother. And yesterday, he pointed toward the empty walls. You tried to erase my wife and daughter too. Judith started crying. I just wanted us to look like one perfect family. Emma looked directly at her. A perfect family doesn't erase the people who came before, remembers them. Then Ethan quietly picked up every hidden album. He looked at Judith one last time. For years. I thought these memories never existed. You didn't destroy them, you just hid them. That's even worse, said another word. Judith stood frozen in the middle of the dining room, tears running down her face. But for the first time since I'd known her, no one rushed to comfort her. Ethan carefully closed the last photo album, then he looked directly at his stepmother. You didn't just erase my mother's photographs. You erased my memories. His voice was calm. That frightened Judith more than if he'd shouted. I was only trying to help us move on, she whispered. Ethan slowly shook his head. No, you were trying to control the story. When Emma became part of this family, you tried to erase her too. Judith looked toward me. Emma, I'm sorry. I met her eyes. I believe you're sorry. You're sorry because you got caught. Because you stopped. Those words hung in the room. Finally, Ethan walked over to the fireplace. Every empty picture frame Judith had left behind was still sitting there. He picked them up one by one. Then he opened the hidden albums. For the next hour, neither of us spoke. Together, we carefully removed old photographs from the albums and placed them into the empty frames for the first time in decades. Ethan's biological mother smiled from the living room wall again, beside her. We placed pictures of our wedding, our daughter Lily, my late mother holding her granddaughter. Every person who belonged in our family's story finally had a place again. The following morning, Ethan drove Judith back to her own house. Before she got out of the car, he quietly handed her one photograph. It showed all four of us at Lily's birthday party. You don't have to disappear from this family, he said, but you'll never again decide who does. Months passed. Judith started seeing a therapist. Slowly, she admitted something she'd hidden for years. She'd spent her entire life believing that if people remembered the women before her, there would never be enough room to love her too. She finally realized love doesn't work that way. Adding one person doesn't erase another. A year later, our home looked completely different. Every wall was covered with photographs, old ones, new ones. Some showed Ethan's biological mother, some showed Robert, some showed my parents, some showed Judith. And many showed our daughter smiling beside every person who had helped shape our family. One evening, Lily looked up at the wall and asked, Mommy, why are there so many pictures? I smiled. Because every person who loved this family deserves to be remembered. No one should ever have to disappear, just so someone else can feel important. And every time I walk past those photographs now, I'm reminded that the truth can be hidden for years, but eventually, it always finds its way back into the frame.